Thank you for joining us this week on Retiring Well. We got a great show lined up for you. First, we're going to start off with how to handle rising interest rates. There's many different areas that impacts, but maybe what are some of the things you can be doing? Then talking about orphaned accounts. Do you have an account that maybe doesn't have a financial advisor or agent anymore? What do you have, and maybe what are some signs or concerns about that? Then talking about planned giving. It's wonderful to be able to work with clients when they're considering giving to children, grandchildren, or maybe special organizations that are very meaningful to them. Finally, wrapping up the show, talking about where to invest or what happens if the dollar crashes. Not a fun topic to talk about, but it comes up occasionally and is very interesting to talk about. All this and so much more this week on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
How to handle rising interest rates. That's something that we've heard a lot of from folks here in 2022, and we're looking at how the Federal Reserve hasn't hiked interest rates this aggressively in decades. And so investors anticipate that Fed Chairman Jerome Powell continue raising these rates. So how do you prepare yourself? The Fed's hope is to ultimately control inflation, but ultimately could it end up tightening its way into a slowdown of the economy? That's what everyone is talking about. But there's supply bottlenecks and shortages that are also to blame for inflation, but the Fed ultimately can't control that with rates. So what do you do when rates are expected to rise and maybe continue to rise? Let's start with paying down your debt. Especially if you're in a situation where you have a variable interest rate. So that might be the mortgage on your property where you maybe had a fixed rate for a period of time and then it goes to a variable. You'll want to maybe look at refinancing. A lot of home equity lines of credit. If you have that open where you can borrow against the house for different home remodeling projects or whatever it might be, those may have a term that's fixed for a period, but then it adjusts depending on where interest rates are. So again, maybe valuable to look at refinancing. Or what if you have different credit card debt? That usually has a higher interest rate. So have you looked at, are there ways to start paying that off ideally, or shuffling those over into lower interest rates, or maybe there might be some zero interest rate options that may be available to you. Another option would be to maximize your income. So right now with inflation the way that it is and rising interest rates, there may be opportunities where you could negotiate pay. If you feel that you're not making as much as you need, then you could go to your employer and talk to them about potentially increasing pay. Also, another option would be increasing your savings. Look with your savings, maybe start to look for better interest rates. If it's money that you don't anticipate spending over the next 2 or 3 years, we've started to see those interest rates really climb for maybe shorter term commitments, but disadvantage there might be that the funds are illiquid. And ultimately try to recession-proof your finances. Ultimately live within your means. Don't be spending out of control. Look at those areas that maybe you're spending too much money in. If you can cut back there with your investments, try to be careful with your risk. Make sure that it fits within your comfort zone for risk tolerance, and ultimately look at, sort of from a long-term planning perspective, what makes most sense to you. So give us a call if you have any questions.
Hey, what a great segment on how to handle environments where there's rising interest rates. You know, if people were to ask me that question, what would you do? Well, I would get informed. So what I see happen a lot are people just don't know what is out there. You know, for you to go find an independent financial advisor that you can trust and just say, hey, can you give me the spectrum of these no market risk featured products? For instance, hey, what's a money market market paying at a bank? What is a CD at the bank paying? Is there any online banks that might have better interest rates? What are the insurance industries paying? And so just for some comparison, these rates change often, and so you have to be aware of what the current rates are. But I recently had a client in the Cadillac office, and their CD at their bank was paying roughly about 1%. And I just explained to them, I said, there's some products out here right now that are being offered by insurance companies, and they're paying 4% on a 3-year basis. And so for them, it was surprising to even know that there's other options than the bank. Now, there's some more things that you'd want to understand, from the time commitment to early withdrawal penalties, and understand all of those parts. But I think people just appreciate getting to know that there's other options. As interest rates go up, it doesn't all have to be bad news. Maybe there's some bigger returns on those accounts that can be in that no market risk that might be a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who knows how much higher rates are going to go, right? I mean, the Fed wants to tackle inflation. To do that, well, they have to increase rates, right? Right now, it's kind of weird in the sense that we have a supply and demand issue going on, where inflation is jumping up because we have not enough supply, but a lot of demand. In order to curb that, obviously, the Fed's got to raise rates. That reduces the demand, right? Because things get more expensive, and then supply goes up, so hopefully rates will eventually come back down, right? But who knows what's going to happen? And that's where you, like Jack said, you want to be informed. You want to know what all those options are so that you can make an informed decision that's in your best interest. So hopefully you found that valuable. So stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about orphan accounts and planned giving. You don't want to miss it.
NMC Extended Education is offering an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Plan to Retire Well, presented by Jack Clunder, financial advisor at Centennial Wealth Advisory and a former educator of personal finance and mathematics. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The big three are healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for a predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesdays, September 21st and 28th, from 6 to 9 p.m. at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. Again, that number is 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets.
Orphan accounts. And what does that mean, you say? Well, surprisingly, this happens more than you would think. You have an investment vehicle or a product of something that you once started with a relationship with somebody, and now that individual or company is no longer there or no longer servicing that account. Or maybe you've moved and just never had a new relationship. So you have this investment product, let's call it, that has really no advisor that's assisting you. Oftentimes we see this happen in like the insurance industry as an example. Maybe you bought a fixed annuity or fixed index or variable or some type of an annuity or insurance product at once, and then that that insurance producer agent is either no longer doing this or has moved or you've moved, and so you don't have anybody helping you. Well, oftentimes annually there's either reallocations or maybe this thing is matured and there's or looking at fees and all this sort of stuff. So you have a ship, but nobody's driving that ship with that in particular investment. Or even oftentimes, even surprisingly, we see this with various investment accounts out there that maybe even have mutual funds or other types of more, I'll call them active investments, where maybe they're going up and down in value and there's not necessarily an advisor. They got put into a house account, oftentimes it's called. And so, maybe you didn't even know that, or oftentimes. So when you're looking at your statement, usually no matter what the investment it is, it's usually going to have off to one side or the other, it will say like your investment representative or your agent or something along those lines, and it's going to list a company or an individual or something like that. If it doesn't list anybody and you haven't had communication with those individuals or some individual for some time, maybe that's a concern. There's a couple different things you can do to know if you have been orphaned from that particular thing. You can call the company directly and ask if you have an agent or advisor assigned to you, or we're happy to take a look at that as well. We can usually tell by the statement, or at a minimum, it's maybe a quick conference call with you and us on the phone to that company, and we can determine if we have somebody there to help. But once again, don't think that you don't need somebody, because usually at some point in the time you're going to want service on that, and it's nice to have a local person to be able to help walk through that with you, make adjustments if needed, or maybe eventually you're going to get to retirement and you want to start taking income from that or start taking distributions. Sure, you can probably call the 1-800 number and request the paperwork and they can send it to you or fax it to you and go along that lines. But once again, having that local individual, and maybe more importantly, and we talk about it all the time here on the show, is how does that investment fit into your plan? If there's not even an advisor looking after that, boy, that to me concerns me, because what is that doing? How is it making that plan for you, and how is it helping you plan to retire well? Give us a call on the screen. We'd love to talk to you about this or anything else that you may have questions about for your retirement.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me.
Oh, help me go to college. How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
You made it. Years of hard work, investing, planning, and now you're here. The long-awaited reward you spent a lifetime looking forward to. But what now? After years of growing a nest egg, now you may want to manage it. Use it to fund your dreams. Make it last as long as you need it. And leave some for those you love. So what do? Wall Street continues to be uncertain, and some conservative options have dropped through the floor. How do you maintain opportunities for growth and reduce risk of loss from market changes? That's where we come in. We are financial professionals. From investments and insurance products to tax reduction strategies and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, provided by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies. You've worked a lifetime to get here. Let us help you enjoy it to the fullest. For a complimentary consultation, simply contact us today.
Planned giving. It's so important to be giving back, and so let's talk about some different strategies for you to consider. First, a charitable remainder trust. So this is an irrevocable transfer into a trust, and it provides an income to a beneficiary. At the end of the term, the money goes to the charity and you get a partial tax deduction, but ultimately it backs out the income that you receive. The big major point that I'd like to make here is it's irrevocable, so you can't undo this. Another idea would be charitable gift annuities. Similar idea of gifting to a charity, and then there's an income stream that comes back to you, and when you pass away, the charity keeps the balance of the annuity. The remainder interest deed. So this is going to be where you're going to gift property to a charity. you retain a life estate. So you can live there the rest of your life, but when you pass away, that real estate goes directly to the charity. Another idea might be donor-advised funds. This is where you can put money into a fund, and which can be tax deductible, and then it grows tax-free, and then ultimately as you determine when you want to gift that money, you can pick whatever charities that you want to give that money to. So if you get some growth along the way, all the better, then more money goes to those charities. What about gifting appreciated stocks or bonds? I feel like this is one that people may not pay attention to, but let's imagine you bought a stock for $5,000 and over time, good news, it grew to $10,000. So if you cashed in that stock, you would pay tax on the $5,000 of capital gains that were earned. But you could instead gift that $10,000 stock to, say, a church or a charity, and then get the tax deduction for the $10,000, and there would be no tax on the capital gains. So that's the way the churches or charities are able to receive those types of different appreciated assets and not have a tax liability. Another area to consider is our qualified charitable distributions. So when you get to the age of 72 and you have required minimum distributions, you have the ability with that required minimum distribution to have a portion or all of it go to a church or charity, and you then don't have a tax liability for that withdrawal because you're not receiving those funds. So a lot of our clients may, if they're associated with a church and regularly tithing, instead will have it go directly from their IRA to that church, and ultimately then they have no tax liability for that portion that goes there. Winston Churchill once said, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. So keep that in mind as you're looking at your assets in retirement.
Orphan accounts, that's something a lot of people just kind of totally forget about, whether it's leaving an old employer or a long lost IRA that you totally forgot that you contributed to way back when to get the tax advantages for it. But it's something that here in Centennial Wealth we see very often, and we always like to, in our meetings, make sure that we have an idea on where all your assets are at. And you have options. If you've got those orphan accounts out there that you don't know what they're doing or who they're even held with, we can help with that. Some of those options might be, okay, if you're with a new employer and you've got an old 401k plan, well, you can obviously roll that 401k into the new employer 401k plan. Another option is, well, you could take that old 401k and roll it over into an IRA. Now there's disadvantages and advantages to doing that, and that's something that we would go through in our meetings, but you just want to make sure that you understand all those different options. Just recently out of the Gaylord office, we had a client that totally forgot about an IRA, had a really small balance in it, but what we did was we just cashed it right out. The tax implications were nil, and so it worked out perfect for them, and they had free money that they totally forgot about. So it's just a great practice to make sure that you understand where all your money's at.
Yeah, great information, Nick. And speaking of that free money, you know, sometimes there's charities that need some free money. And how do you do that? Well, one of my favorite quotes from Jeffrey Marks from his book called A Season of Life, he says, find a mission other than yourself. You know, I've gotten a relatively strong opinion about that being one of the secrets to a happy life. And how do you do that? Well, recently in the Cadillac office, I had a very successful younger client that had earned some money and had his money before he had his mission. And so I started teaching him about a donor advised fund. I said, hey, we can look at this, you can invest it, and then if your mission shows up, you know, your money is going to be ready to be instituted. And that was powerful for him. That's a tax planning strategy and also a giving strategy. I had another client that was 71 years old. They were regularly giving to their church. And I said, you know, you can actually do that through your IRA, and it can be gifted right to the church that you're supporting. And that education was powerful, not only for him in his situation, but also for the organization. So stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about where to invest if the dollar crashes.
NMC Extended Education is offering an educational class titled Retirement Secrets, Plan to Retire Well, presented by Jack Clunder, financial advisor at Centennial Wealth Advisory and a former educator of personal finance and mathematics. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, then this class is for you. Many things can threaten your ability to outlive your assets and retire well. The big three are healthcare, inflation, and taxes. Learn to navigate the critical issues that a retiree must deal with. You'll learn how to plan for predictable and sustainable income, minimize taxes on your IRAs, maximize your Social Security benefits, and avoid estate planning mistakes. We'll also discuss long-term care concerns and what investments are appropriate in different situations. The cost is only $69. Materials will be provided, and a spouse or guest may attend for free. The class will be held on 2 Wednesdays, September 21st and 28th, from 6 to 9 p.m. at the NMC Great Lakes campus. Reserve your seats today by calling NMC at 231-995-1700. Again, that number is 231-995-1700. The class is called Retirement Secrets.
Remember when life was simpler? When things didn't move quite so fast, and the world didn't seem so complex? Remember that? We do. And as the world around us has continued to speed up, becoming more complicated, and still a bit uncertain, we have managed to keep things simple, providing sound, easy-to-understand financial advice and customized roadmaps for the road ahead, from tax reduction strategies, investment advice, and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, backed by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies. We can be your single point of contact, a single call, a voice you recognize well, and a partner who can be by your side for the entire journey. We can't stop the world around us, but we can help ensure you're prepared for what's to come. To schedule a no-obligation meeting, simply contact us today.
Financial planning is more than just providing for yourself. It's making sure your loved ones are taken care of. It's preserving and protecting what you've worked for all those years. It's leaving a legacy to your children and grandchildren. It's providing a level of stability and security. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
Talking about the dollar crashing is scary, and every now and then we have an individual come in and they kind of bring that up, or they have concerns about that. You know, I think back in time, and I think those concerns maybe stem from a couple different areas. One, if you remember back when the government started quantitative easing, or QE, people talked about it, you know, that generated some current concerns. I mean, the printing of money and stuff like that, and making more of it. And people are wondering, wow, you know, what does that do to the dollar in my pocket? The other time I think back into is like 1971, when the United States got off the gold standard. A lot of people go back to that and say, oh boy, you know, what's really backing our dollar anymore? You know, so when you think of a currency crashing, you know, really what that means is the users of that currency, right, have lost faith in that it really is meaningful, and it's lost its purpose as a general exchange and to be able to purchase goods. So therefore, the dollar bills in your wallet or purse then become useless or less valuable than they did before, right? So what does that mean? Well, the U.S. currency is really valued against other currencies in the world. Currently, the U.S. dollar is used for exchange on the international market. So like commodities and stuff like that, exports, are bought and sold with U.S. currency. So they compare that to other currencies. So when you hear the dollar is getting weaker, well, it's getting weaker in comparison to other currencies. Stronger, obviously it's getting stronger in comparison to other currencies. So a weaker dollar does make our exports more attractive, so it's not always bad, but us as consumers typically want a strong dollar. So you look at, if we have a, let's say, devaluing currency, if we ever got into that situation, maybe where would you look at that? Well, one, since we're valuing against other currencies, what other currencies are doing well? maybe it'd be something to look at international currencies if that was the case. You hear all the time commercials on TV, buy gold and silver, the dollar is crashing, or something along those lines. Potentially, looking back over time, gold and silvers have been a relative hedge against that. But like any investment, we don't want to put all of our eggs in that one basket. So other things, looking at like real estate or certain commodities, more harder assets, and a lot of times when you have a devaluing dollar. If you're interested in stocks, considering stocks that maybe have a multinational spread, they're getting their incomes from all over the place, not just in the U.S. Maybe looking at international or emerging markets during that time, if the U.S. dollar is particularly struggling. So when we look at this, it's just one of those maybe black swan events out there that potentially could happen. And how is your retirement plan positioned for this? Once again, if this is something that's concerning you, have you had this conversation, and do you know what your particular investments would react? So once again, as we always offer, free, no obligation visit here with any of our advisors in our 4 locations here in Northern Michigan. We'd love to sit down with you to help you plan to retire well.
Where to invest if the dollar crashes? That's kind of a concerning question there, but it is top of mind for a lot of people with everything going on in the world right now. A lot of people coming into the office saying, hey, how do I invest in precious metals without actually going and getting the precious metals, right? And here at Centennial Wealth, we can do that. We have options out there where you can own like silver, for example, or gold through ETFs or exchange-traded funds. SLV is the ticker for silver. GLD is the ticker for gold. Those are just a couple of the different options that are out there. One of the benefits of doing that is obviously you're not holding the physical precious metal at your residence. You're also not paying that spot price, because when you go and buy a piece of gold or a piece of silver, you're paying whatever the cost is for that metal plus the commission for that retailer. So in this sense, you can own those precious metals without paying an extra fee and hold them within your different retirement accounts. So it's a great opportunity to maybe hedge against inflation, or if the dollar crashes, a great opportunity to invest in those precious metals.
Yeah, that's great information, Nick. Thank you. And then there's, also some strategies that we also adhere to here at Centennial Wealth by using very actively managed strategies. Some of these strategies that are actively managed will bring in commodities. They're using all of their research to determine, hey, I think maybe, if we feel like the dollar is going to crash, maybe our hedge could be in commodities, or could be in foreign currencies, or could be in real estate. And they go through and they bring these into the strategies as a way to address that potential. There's another thing I heard when I was first dabbling in real estate, and it was a guy that said, Jack, they don't make more lakes. And I thought, well, that actually makes sense. If you want to buy into real estate and buy into something that is limited, is finite, that could be a good hedge long term. And so if you have any questions, if there's anything in your plan that you're worried about, that you want to come get some more information on, feel free to give us a call. No pressure, no obligation, just learning. So with that, we hope you enjoyed our show today. Tune in next week, same time, same station.